we're getting into the early mainstream, which is interesting, but also in some ways we're getting into the early end game because the big boys are here and you can see what they're thinking, how they're thinking about it.
Right.
And now we're seeing how the infrastructure is playing out, and we don't have spot ETFs, and we've got a lot of the big boys playing regulated instruments that are toxic to Bitcoin, like the futures ETF. So I can see there's now we're in a situation where the financial market, the traditional financial market, has got a hold of Bitcoin. The only way you can really destroy this network, I think, is via price. If you suppress price long enough, your adoption goes away. I think it's going to do okay, but I think there's these edge risks of like what happened to gold happening to Bitcoin, like endless paper suppression of Bitcoin. So what does that mean in terms of Bitcoin moving forward? I don't think we're doing 110% annualized forever, well, even the next 4 years. If you look at the flow, to me, it's just like you get the inflation curve, you put it on a log chart, I think what you do, and then you flip it upside down and invert it, and then it just copies the price of Bitcoin. You just look at that, and then you sort of run a...
Repeat that. What do you do with the chart?
Stock to flow essentially is the inflation rate of Bitcoin flipped upside down, and then you stretch it, and so it matches the price, right? And the coefficients of the regression that matches it is essentially the amount of stretch. You sort of like, the inflation rate's going down, 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 down. You flip it upside down. It's actually on a curve. Sorry, it's not log. It's on a curve downwards, like this. And then you flip it, and it looks like a curve upwards. And then you stretch it, and then it matches price. Okay, and it's really a curve match, and based on this inflation rate. And I think the curve starts to fall off because of the relationship of what we talked about. We've seen in the nature of financial markets, this is the end game of how we value things. So that's solid, right? Mm-hmm. And so then he did it with Bitcoin. But I think it was with a mindset of a maximalist saying this is the only thing that will exist. So even in that, the model breaks down because Bitcoin gets to zero inflation, so the price should go to infinite, and it should be the rule of the universe. And I think if you to take the model and then you add to it the real dynamics of the market of competitors to Bitcoin, and there are competitors because you cannot tell me Bitcoin dominance is 100%. It's far from it, and it's sliding.
It was for a while, but you're right. Now it's 50%, which means everybody's eating market share, right?
Yeah, and you'll notice that it started to fall away from that trend line because the dominance started to drop. I think that it was skewed. I think
he's missing that in the model. That's right. That's the key.
He didn't acknowledge shitcoins, as much as
because that money would have otherwise gone into Bitcoin.
Yeah. You cannot create a model in what you wish the future will be. It has to be based on reality. He did that model, and shitcoins were in existence, obviously, and it was gaining dominance. So I think that needed to be taken into account. So I like the model. It's about scarcity and valuation. It's not a demand and supply model. The idea around it is the more scarce it is, that creates a dynamic around demand and supply, both sides, not just demand. Because every market we see demand, you see supply meted, right? Because otherwise you can't buy the asset if no one's supplying it. So it's a model around scarcity and valuation. It sidesteps the issue of figuring out the random walk of demand and supply, which is what I do to get there. It's kind of like E equals MC squared. It distills down into something really clean. You don't have to look at demand and supply. Everyone's trying to work that out because it's a complex beast. And you just go, yeah, look at this. This is scarcity, and this is how we should value scarcity. I just don't think he acknowledged the real scarcity was actually inclusive of Bitcoin, which diluted the scarcity, inclusive of shitcoins, which dilutes the scarcity. I actually love the model. I think that it just needs to be broader. I think I'll try it. See, maybe I'm full of shit and it's a broken idea, but because that's the thing. You have these great ideas, you run the numbers. Oh no, that didn't work. Right? It was a broken. At least you can test your thesis. With support or not, if you run the numbers. So yeah, worth doing. I think it'll be worth doing.
Totally.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3,000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really, really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.